Alright, what we're going to talk about today are squares and square roots. Alright, right here I got three definitions for you. We have here square. Square is a verb meaning to multiply two of a number together. Let me give you an example of that. Alright, so squared. So let's say we have 5 to the power of 2. Okay? What this is it really means 5 times 5, also written as 5 squared. Okay? The 5 is called your base. This 5 is called your base. And this 2 right here is called a power, or it is also called an exponent, or exponent. Okay, we call this also an exponent. It says here an exponent is written small to the right and slightly above a whole number. The exponent tells you how many of the whole number to multiply. So for example, if I give you 3, let me choose a different color. If I say 3 to the third power, what that means is 3 times 3 times 3. I use my base, which is a 3, and I multiplied it by itself 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. This also is, instead of being called squared, squared is when you have a little 2 as your exponent. This is also called cubed. And when you move on from that to other types of problems, like 2 with the little 4 as your exponent, you read this as 2 to the 4th power, or 2 to the 5th power, or 2 to the 6th power. Squared and cubed are just the special terms when you're using a 2 or a 3 as your exponent. And that is when you square or use exponents. This is the meaning right here. This is the meaning. So when you are given a problem, this is what it means, and then you just perform the multiplication and you get your answer. This right here is another good illustration. It says here you have 10. This right here is your base. So this is your base number right here. You can see your exponent, and it says an exponent tells you how many of the base, or the number, to multiply together. This means multiply 2 10s together. So this means 10 times 10. Here's some problems. Let's just write down the meanings. This says 5 to the 4th power. So what this really means is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay? This right here is 3 to the 3rd power. 3 times 3 times 3. This here is 9 to the 5th power. 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 times 9. The biggest common mistake that people make is when they do 9 to the 5th power, they want to read it as 9 times 5, which gives you an answer of 45. That is absolutely incorrect. You're doing the base times this exponent, and you have that many times. You write the 9, you write it 5 times. Okay? Alright, square roots. Square roots is when you find how large the sides of a square must be given the number of squares in it. And basically what that means is when you have the square root of 81, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find out what number times itself equals 81. So what number times itself equals 81. And you figure out that 81, square root of 81, is going to be 9, because 9 times 9 equals 81. Okay, right here what we're doing is we're going to match the square roots with their answers. So the square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 81, which we just did, what times what equals 81, is 9. What number times itself equals 64? And that is 8. Square root of 64. The square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 9 is 3. And the square root of 49 is 7, because 7 times 7 equals 49. Okay, well what if I give you a square root problem that is larger than 100? Because we all can do up to the square root of 100, 1 to 10. For example, what if I give you the square root of 576? The first thing that you want to do is you want to do what I've done right over here on the left-hand side. So I guess I'll go ahead and just label this as step 1. What step 1 does is I've taken 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and I've basically squared it. So 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. And the reverse is true also. The square root of 100 is 10. And 20 squared, 20 times 20 is 400, and the square root of 400 is back to 20. 30 squared, 30 times 30 is 900, and the square root of 900 is 30. 40 squared is going to be 1,600, and the square root of 1,600 is 40, and also 50. 50 squared is 2,500, and the square root of 2,500 is 50. Well, I got the square root of 576. The first thing that you need to do is figure out where does this go in between. Okay, if you notice, this number 576 is in between the square root of 400 and the square root of 900. So I know my answers must be between 20 and 30. So my answers need to be between 20 and 30. Okay? So that means, but they can't be 20 or 30, because you can see here, square root of 400 is 20 and the square root of 900 is 30. So basically I have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. Those are my possibilities. So I will have two possible answers. Since this does not end in a 0 or a 5, if it ends in a 0 or 5, you only have one choice. But this ends in a 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, 21 times 21. Well, 1 times 1 is a 1. So I know that my answer is going to end in a 1 when I do 21. Any number that ends in a 1 times itself, the answer will also have a 1. But if you notice, we're looking for a 6. So since that doesn't work, 21 is not a possibility. Well, now we have 22 times 22. Any number that ends in a 2, when you multiply it by itself, your answer will always end in a 4. Well, I'm not looking for a 4, I'm looking for a 6, so it doesn't work. 23 times 23, well, that's going to end in a 9, so that doesn't work. 24 times 24. Okay, you're going to be multiplying the 4's first. 4 times 4 is 16, carry your 1, and look at there, it ends. So that means I know that this right here is a possibility. 24 is a possibility. 25 ends in a 5. When you multiply those together, it doesn't work. 26 times 26. 6 times 6 is 36. Therefore, this is going to be a possibility. Okay? That can end. 7's not going to work. 27. 28's not going to work because it ends in a 4. And 29's not going to work. So I know that my two possible choices are 24 or 26. Now, I can now look at 576. Is 576 closer to 400? Or is 576 closer to 900? Well, it's closer to 400. So because it's closer to 400, the answer is going to be closer to 20. So my answer for the square root of 576 is 24. And that is how, these are the steps that you choose when you're trying to figure out a square root of a number that is larger basically than 100.